Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Charities warn vulnerable people will struggle to heat their homes as Yorkshire households see the biggest rise in energy prices in the country.
You've got to choose. It's either electric or food, isn't it? Or gas. And that's the way it is at the moment. Choose between which one you want to do. You want food, but then you need something to cook it with. So.
And we hear how homes in our region are wasting energy. Also tonight, a rack-ridden care home in Leeds is forced to close, leaving nuns to search for alternative places for residents. An angry response to plans for hundreds of new homes in Tadcaster, partly on a floodplain. The little girl with the big heart, the 5-year-old fundraising to buy teddies for kids at Pinderfields Hospital.
And there were cloudy skies over Home Moss today. There is a lot of cloud in the forecast for the weekend, but there's not a lot of wet weather. We've got a lot of dry weather to come over the next few days, and it's going to feel cooler too. I'll be back later in the programme with all the details.
Thank you for joining us this Friday evening. Charities are warning that the most vulnerable people in our region will continue to struggle to heat their homes this winter. New figures show that households in Yorkshire have seen the biggest increase in average energy bills of any region since 2018. Last year, an average dual fuel bill for gas and electricity was £2,612 in Yorkshire. That's £1,400 more than in 2018, when an average bill was just under £1,200. This week has also seen Ofgem's price cap rise by £94 per year for a typical household. The government says it's spending £4 billion to help people cut their energy usage through home improvements. David Rhodes has the story.
Pizza?
On a cold day during the school holidays, food is fuel for young minds. But at the Compton Centre in Leeds, they help adults struggling to afford fuel to heat their own homes.
You know, every day, if I don't come here, I don't feel like I did anything for the day, really.
For those who struggle to meet the cost, local councils have set up warm banks, a place that people can come to keep the cold out.
You've got to choose. It's either electric or food, isn't it? Or gas. But I come here because it saves money. And the electric's gone. It just went this morning completely.
So you put £80 on the meter?
Yeah.
And that's run out?
Yeah.
So when are you going to get electricity again?
Monday I get paid, so Monday, which is 2 days of like cold.
Such is the need. People can come to this warm bank to get a coat, to stay warm inside their own homes.
I try not to put the heating on too much, and I just try and layer up at home. I mean, I've got a hat from here and I wear it at home and a scarf. Because, yeah, it's really cold and damp where I live.
Every day we're getting customers coming in really struggling. It's got even busier now because of the cost of living and people struggling, so it has got busy.
We have a national power grid, but energy prices vary by region due to transmission costs and how much fuel we use. And we use more energy in this region compared to others because of our homes. We have the most energy inefficient homes in the country, which means they're really bad at keeping the heat in. The most energy efficient and warmest homes in the country are found in the most prosperous part of the country. In London, 52% of homes achieve an energy certificate rating of C or above, whilst in Yorkshire, only 40% of properties achieve what is considered the minimum standard for a warm home.
We know that lots of properties in Yorkshire and the North Midlands are living off the gas network. Those households face additional costs because they're needing to pay for the most expensive and often the most polluting fuels. That, coupled with bad levels of insulation within rural and traditional properties, means that some households are never going to be able to live in a warm, safe home at any reasonable cost.
The government says a £4 billion investment programme will make 500,000 homes warmer in the coming years. This week, energy bills rose by another 5%, leaving many hoping that warmer weather is just around the corner. David Rhodes, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Yes, testing times. Next tonight, nuns at a Leeds care home are desperately searching for new homes for 60 residents after being told their building must be demolished. Defective rack concrete has been found in the roof of Mount St Joseph's, putting it at risk of collapse. So, after more than 150 years caring for the elderly, the Little Sisters of the Poor are now facing an uncertain future. Abby Jayola has more.
Hello, who's that and how are you?
Liz and Anne visit their mum every day. Their dad was a resident here too. Margaret's been at Mount St Joseph's for 8 years. She needs specialist care. Her daughters are now trying to find a new home for her.
You cannot put into words just how devastating this is. And not just for us as a family, but for all the other families that are here. All the people that work here.
I wake up in the middle of the night and this is all going through my head. I can't sleep before it. And I know that some of the residents are exactly the same. The ones who understand what's going on.
From the air, you can't see the problem, but 95% of this roof contains rack, a type of concrete that's now known to only have a 30-year lifespan. This home was built 50 years ago and the roof is now at risk of collapse. Inside, steel girders are propping up the most unstable areas. This temporary fix cost £200,000, but the damage is not repairable. Demolition is the only option. Around 90 care staff will lose their jobs. Some of them have worked here for decades.
Looking for other jobs, they find they don't know how to do it. They don't know what they're going to do. They can't imagine themselves working anywhere else. That's what they're telling us, you know. They feel they're losing part of their life because this home has been their life all those years.
94-year-old Margaret Royston has lived here for 20 years but had to be moved to a new room when the upper floors were evacuated. She doesn't know where she'll go next.
We're going to be all scattered, you know, at the wrong time of our lives. It really knocked me for six. I was really, really upset. It seems awful because we're all a family and we all look out for each other, and as you're getting older, there's less and less things that you're familiar with.
It's so sad, isn't it?
The nuns have been providing care for the elderly in Leeds since 1865 and are helping families find new homes for their relatives. They're hopeful that one day they'll be able to return.
We have a dream, we have lands, and if the money won't fall from heaven, there might be a few millionaires around, people who, and if somebody did help us to give us the funds, well, we would rebuild in the garden and their home.
But for now, for residents who've had many happy years here, the future is uncertain. Abby Jayola, BBC Look North, Headingley.
You're watching Friday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. The AI programme developed in Yorkshire that could unearth unknown masterpieces from famous artists. Now, it's estimated that in every classroom in Yorkshire there could be 3 young people who have to care for an ill or disabled relative outside school. That's according to the charity Sheffield Young Carers. They've been taking part in an all-party parliamentary group inquiry into young carers, which found that 15,000 children in the UK spend over 50 hours each week caring for a family member. Amelia Shalish reports.
There is a lot of added daily stress that a lot of other people don't experience or wouldn't understand.
Mary is one of an estimated 7,000 young carers living in Sheffield. They provide support both physically and emotionally for their parents.
My wife suffered a stroke 13 years ago now, so when Mary was very young. Therefore, Mary and their sibling got thrust into that role as a carer, because I'm disabled and have inflamed bowel disease. If I'm having a flare-up and my wife's having a flare-up at the same time, neither of us can really do an awful lot. Then everything day-to-day would fall to our children to look after us, and that may involve having to stay home from school.
A recent inquiry from the All-Party Parliamentary Group found being a young carer has a knock-on effect on school attainment and attendance, with young carers missing an average of 27 days per year. While this number is lower for Miri, juggling caring responsibilities as well as studying TV and film at college can be a difficult task.
You know, having chores that other people your age might not, or wanting to spend less time out of the house to make sure your parents are okay. There's also added stress that can make it harder to relax, to hang out with friends and stuff like that.
The stress and isolation that caring can bring has been captured in a new exhibit at Weston Park Museum. Miri is one of several young carers that contributed to the display, which is a collaboration between the artist Pete McKee and the charity Sheffield Young Carers.
Young carers are still very much hidden, so having the opportunity to be somewhere like Sheffield Museums and having an exhibition really raises awareness. It gives the young people opportunity to be able to display their artwork and get their message across.
By raising awareness, the charity hopes it will allow more young carers to be identified and supported to reach their full potential. Amelia Shalish, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Yes, let's hope so. Thank you to Miri for sharing her story. Now some news from the rest of the region, and 5 men have admitted producing cannabis at a derelict care home in Leeds. It's after police found a large-scale cannabis farm at Moorfield House in Moortown last month. The plants had an estimated street value of £450,000. 6 Albanian nationals were arrested at the scene. 5 of them pleaded guilty at Leeds Crown Court this morning. An inquest has opened into the death of a father of 2 who was hit by a car while helping an injured woman in Sheffield. 46-year-old Chris Marriott was killed when he was hit by a car in the Burngreave area. He was with others helping to give first aid to a woman who was unconscious in the street. 23-year-old Hassan Janga was charged with murder and 5 counts of attempted murder following the incident. An MP on the Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee says it would be a disaster if Colin Graves returns as chairman of Yorkshire Cricket Club. Mr Graves was chairman from 2012 to 2015, part of the period Yorkshire was fined for failing to deal with racism. His new ownership offer has been accepted and his consortium is in exclusive negotiations. But Clive Efford MP says he's astonished at what he says would be a backward step. Mr Graves has been approached for comment. Bradford's main bus station has been closed until further notice following damage thought to have been caused by the recent bad weather. West Yorkshire Combined Authority said the closure was a precautionary measure to ensure public safety. Bus services from Bradford Interchange are running from the street outside the station with extra staff in place. Train services, we're pleased to say, remain unaffected. A petition calling for West Yorkshire's buses to be brought back under public control has been presented to the Mayor of the region.
What do we want? Better buses! When do we want them? Now! What do we want?
The Better Buses for West Yorkshire campaign is calling for leaders to regulate fares, routes and timetables, which are currently controlled by private companies. A banner with the petition's 12,000 signatures has been touring stations across West Yorkshire. Next tonight, plans to build over 400 new homes in Tadcaster on Greenbelt land and partly on a floodplain have triggered an angry response. A 300-strong group of protesters say the town should focus on reviving derelict buildings rather than constructing new ones. The developers say the land is a low flood risk, but part of the site is currently underwater. As Beth Parsons reports.
This agricultural land between Wetherby Road and the River Wharfe could be the site of a new housing development in Tadcaster. Peter is one of around 300 campaigners against the plan.
So this piece of land here covers 35 hectares and Gladman Developments are proposing to build over 400 houses on it. The water levels are gradually seeping up onto this land, which would be a disaster to build on.
I think it would definitely make the flooding issue worse because they are going to concrete over what is now wetland which can drain through, whereas houses it doesn't drain through, it will just run off.
You can see today it's completely underwater, so I don't know how they would propose to build pathways because presumably they would get washed away on an annual basis.
Gladman Developments declined an interview but say the planning application for the 11 Arches development follows over a year of consultation and that there will be measures to manage surface water and increase flood resilience. And all built development is located in Flood Zone 1, identified by the Environment Agency as areas of low risk.
We've got a housing shortage, haven't we? And I think there's a big problem with house prices. I know some of the outlying areas have got a lot of green belt, and I know there's a lot of issues on protection on that, but they've got to go somewhere, haven't they?
I think there's opportunity for new housing developments to be built around the area of Tadcaster. There's a balance that needs to be struck between, building these new places and keeping the green space.
Having been an estate agent in the town for 45 years, Philip thinks it's important developments aren't too big.
I would like to see a more organic rate of growth, but because of the topography of Tadcaster, it needs to be very carefully located so as to avoid adding to the flooding risks that we, during the last 7 years, have had to face 2 or 3 times.
But another option is being discussed. A Tadcaster town plan developed with Selby Council before the councils merged last year would provide a similar number of homes, use the derelict and unused buildings and land closer to the town centre.
We approached North Yorkshire Council and the councillor that represents the area on the issue. They declined to do an interview, but they did send a statement. They said they are conscious and respectful of the concerns raised, but the town does need new homes. Both plans, that's the local plan and the Gladman 11 Arches scheme, deliver similar numbers and will both impact local services and infrastructure. It's something that both schemes will have to address. Opinions are welcome to be heard on the North Yorkshire Council website until the 19th of January. Beth Parsons, BBC Look North, Tadcaster.
And we'll bring you an update on that story when we get it. Now, football, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. The FA Cup third round is already upon us, and our matches include 2 teams hoping to be giant killers, Huddersfield and Chesterfield. On the other hand, we have 2 Uniteds, Sheffield and Leeds, who are trying to avoid becoming the big story against more modest opponents. Paul Ogden looks ahead.
At last, the weather has improved a bit since the early rounds of this season's FA Cup. But some things haven't changed. Chesterfield are still leading the way at the top of the National League, and the impressive Spireites continue to be a pesky opponent for higher-ranked teams they face in this, the best-known cup competition of all. Having seen off Portsmouth in round 1, these are the lengths Chesterfield fans went to get their match on in round 2 against Leyton Orient, which they won. Their reward, a rare trip to face Championship Watford in round 3 tomorrow.
We know that if we do cause an upset, fantastic. If we do, get defeated, we've got a huge game Wednesday against Gateshead, which, to be honest, it's much more important in the long run. But we're going to Watford with the same preparation as if it was a league game, with the same mentality that we want to win, but knowing really it's going to be a real tough task.
In terms of giant killing potential, the boot is on the other foot for Premier League Sheffield United, away to League 2 Gillingham tomorrow.
We're full tilt all in, without a shadow of a doubt. We've not won many games this season, and full respect to Gillingham, but I'm expecting us to win. Our supporters are travelling down and expecting us to win.
And on Sunday, Leeds United fans will be just as demanding of their players in a similarly awkward match at Peterborough. Rotherham United are actually the first team from our neck of the woods onto the field. Tonight, in fact, away at Premier League Fulham.
They've won 6 out of the 10 Premier League games at Craven Cottage, so you can see where they're at home. They've got a style of play which we'll have to be mindful of, and we'll have to meet them in certain areas.
Online highlights of every single FA Cup tie will be dropping onto the BBC Sport website, and on good old television on both Saturday and Sunday evening on BBC One. There'll be a Match of the Day highlights show at 10:30 each evening, featuring the pick of the action from all of that day's ties. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
Now, do you know your Raphael from your Da Vinci or your Michelangelo from your Caravaggio? Well, me neither, but a couple of computer academics from Yorkshire have developed an AI model to recognise paintings by old masters and weed out those which are fake. It all started with this Raphael in Bradford, and I'm pleased to say Professor Hassan Ugail and Professor Howell Edwards joined me to explain. Professor Edwards, if we can start with you, this gorgeous painting behind you, it's been the subject of much controversy, hasn't it?
It has indeed, yes, since it was acquired by George Lester Winwood of the Debussy Trust in 1981. The last 40 years has been involved in continuous research into the pigments, the stratigraphy, the composition, and the historical association of the painting, which still has produced some debate as to whether it's by Raphael or not, depending on where you come from. But the most recent work is the artificial intelligence work carried out primarily by my colleague, Professor Ugale, which seems to give more evidence that, in fact, it is a genuine work by Raphael.
Yes, tell us about the science.
Yeah, so I know very little about art, but I know quite a bit about computer science. So the way we actually look at this problem is we take signature 100% Raphael paintings, about 50 of them, and then we ask the computer to look at them very, very deeply beyond the human recognition. So it looks at colors, it looks at tonal values, textures, it also looks at brush strokes, and so on. And then once it actually learns about Raphael paintings, we create this model. And this is very, very good. It's 98% accurate in terms of recognizing Raphael paintings. So once we have that, what we do is we actually show other paintings to it and then ask the question whether this is very close to Raphael paintings or not.
And this technology has been used on a painting in Madrid as well, hasn't it, by Raphael?
Yeah, so we've been looking at a particular painting called Madonna della Rosa, which is a very famous painting, and we were able to actually pinpoint certain regions of that painting and analyze very deeply. So we found out that one part of the painting, specifically Joseph's face, is probably not done by Raphael, probably one of his assistants.
Completely fascinating, isn't it? And how has the art world received this kind of information?
Well, as found with many Raphael paintings, connoisseurs are divided in opinion about whether it is a Raphael or a workshop painting, or maybe even a mixture of Raphael and workshop. And we seem to support the connoisseurs for the Madonna della Rosa that part of the painting was not accomplished by Raphael.
Wow, well, you've certainly convinced me. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great to talk about it today. Now here's a story to warm the heart. A little girl from Leeds who set up her own business selling fridge magnets has used the profits to buy toys for sick children. 5-year-old Mia Britton sells her creations at car boot sales, and this Christmas she decided to use all her profits to buy teddy bears for children in Pinderfields Hospital. Nicola Rees caught up with her at a cafe in Wetherby.
Running your own business is serious work. For 5-year-old Mia, a family trip to the cafe is an opportunity to create new product designs.
This is bingo and bluey.
With a little help from big sister Evie, Mia's Magnets has been doing a roaring trade.
She's always been really creative. She decided to make the fridge magnets, and she puts them together, she paints them. We started selling them at the car boot sale, literally out of the boot of my car, shouting, "Fridge magnets, get your fridge magnets." We said to her, you can use the money that you make, if any, for whatever you want, whether you save it, whether you go to the corner shop with your sister after school, whatever you want. It's your money, you do with as you please.
In the 3 months leading up to Christmas, Mia sold hundreds of magnets. She was still deciding what to do with her profits when she was admitted to Pinderfields Hospital with an infection.
When she was admitted into hospital, she broke down in tears on the way home regarding the children in the hospital, and she was frightened that Santa Claus was going to forget them because they were in hospital and not at home. Me and her mother told her that, you know, Santa never forgets a child. And then about 2 days after, she came up to us and said, "I know what I want to do with my profit, with my money." So proud of you.
Anthony gets choked just thinking about it. His daughter's idea was a visit to the toy shop where she filled 2 trolleys with teddies to take to the children's ward.
She insisted that she had to pay for it herself, so we had to give her the money so she could buy them. And then she got all dressed up. Christmas Day, she was more excited about that than actually Santa coming at Christmas. But she got all dressed up, and at about 9:30 Christmas Day morning, she was at the hospital.
It was just magical, absolutely magical, just watching their faces light up, her face light up, that she had been able to do this for them just because she wanted to.
And this little girl is already working on her next big idea, badges. Look out for her at a market stall near you. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Wetherby.
Oh, we certainly will. Well done, Mia. Fantastic work making such a difference to those children this Christmas. Now, on to the weather prospects. Don't laugh at this, Keely, but on about Tuesday of this week, I thought, I know, I'll hang my washing out because
How's that gone for you?
There was a bit of a breeze, and I think we're Friday now, and it's still there, limp.
You might want to drag them in and put them on the radiator, Amanda.
You might be right there.
Having said that, the weather does look like it's going to improve for this weekend, and there'll be a lot of dry weather through the coming week as well. I'm not sure there's going to be very much washing or drying weather because it doesn't look very windy. But yes, a lot of settled weather to come after what's been a very soggy start to January. Some nice pictures coming in. Lots of you managed to get what little sunshine we had today on camera. This first picture in Barnsley and the second picture of Leeds city centre. You can see the dapples of the blue sky overhead there. And please keep your pictures coming in to the social media pages. Your Weather Watchers page is there. We're on Instagram and X as well, at Keely.Donovan on Instagram. So yes, after a very wet start to January, we have had around 50% of the average January rainfall already so far this month. You'll be pleased to know things are settling down. So tomorrow, quite a bit of cloud in the forecast. The other thing of note with the weather over the next few days is it is going to get cooler. And that's because as high pressure builds in and replaces low pressure, bringing us the settled weather, we are going to drag in more of an easterly breeze, bringing us cooler conditions over the coming days. So chilly by day, and we will start to see some frosty conditions by night as well. So we have had a little bit of rain this afternoon. There is a little bit of rain to come overnight, more in the way of more like showers, should I say, or a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle from this fragmented, occluded front. It'll affect more eastern areas for the rest of the night, and we'll start to see some breaks developing across Pennine parts, whereas further east we'll see some mist and fog and quite a lot of murk developing underneath that cloud, with temperatures across Pennine parts dropping back in places to around 1 or 2 degrees. So there could be the odd icy stretch about. So these are the high water times at 11:37 in Scarborough and at 11:52 in Filey. So we'll start the day with some sunshine perhaps across the hills. Elsewhere, mist and murk, and it will remain quite cloudy. And even though there will be a good deal of dry weather, there'll also be the risk of the odd shower through the day. And we might just see a little bit more cloud spreading over Pennine parts through the afternoon as well. Not much of a breeze, and temperatures on the cool side getting up to around 5 or 6 degrees. Looking further ahead into Sunday, Sunday through the afternoon, there could well be that little bit more brightness. So another cloudy start to the day on Sunday with some mist and fog around them. Through the afternoon, we could well see some better spells of brightness. High pressure continues to dominate. A lot of dry weather, a lot of cool weather, brighter by Tuesday. Amanda.
Keely, thank you very much. Some improvements, but I think I'll save those duvet covers for another few weeks.
Or get them to the laundrette, maybe.
Good idea. Get the husband on that one. Thank you very much. That's it from us. Do have a lovely weekend, whatever you have planned, and we'll be back with the late news and weather just after 10 o'clock. Hope you can join us then. Goodbye.